Hello everyone and welcome to the Round 8 Roundup reaction, knee-jerk and thoughts. It's been a while since I've been doing it on my own. Obviously I've been joining the Whisperer for his weekly wrap-ups, but going solo again, so nothing wrong with that, but really thankful obviously to the Whisperer for letting me jump on, and great to see so many of you already in the chat as well. Post your scores, let me know how you're going. Thank you everyone who's already joined. I can see John T, Ethan, Matt. Hope you had a good weekend, Aman. Yes, I did have a good weekend. Had a nice, relaxing weekend. The weather was good. Went to the gym today, watched some footy. It was productive. It was nice. I hope you had all a good weekend as well, and good SuperCoach weekend as well, hopefully. So James, I can see with 1235. That looks like a pretty good score this week. Hello to Poe, Bailey, Isaac. Always see you in the chat as well. Joshua, Dan, Harris, two Harrises actually. Moz always in the chat as well. So yeah, in terms of past score, so yeah, thanks everyone again for being here. I know a lot of people will ask about past score, so if you're wondering what I scored 1146 at the moment. Not all the games have updated yet. So yeah, 1146, which feels okay. I think it's not outstanding, but it feels slightly above par. So if I just quickly jump onto this other screen here, I'll show you kind of. So for example, what I tend to look at is the Podmasters Cup. Now obviously a lot of the podcasters are pretty good supercoaches themselves, so the scores are a little bit higher, but you can see a few scores in the low thousands, a couple in the middle 1100s, some a little bit higher. So Barnsey from the All Stars podcast had a really good week, as did Tim from Playbook. They both did really well. So I think it just depends on what players you had. Obviously it's always depending on what players you had, but there's a few specific players. If you had like a Coates who went really big. Olam was a top scorer this week with 127. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of scores around the 1100. So given that the podcasters are generally quite a good crop of, supercoaches themselves, I would say par maybe around 1100. If you're looking over 1100, I think you've had a decent week. Obviously it's rank dependent. You can see below me, my rank coming into this week was 14k. So I feel like, 1146 hopefully is enough for a green. I mean, I'd hope so. Like, I'm not doing that well to begin the year, but it was a decent round. Got very lucky with trades, so just a quick wrap up of my trades as well. So tossing and turning all week. Do I trade out Isaiah Yeo or Aiken or some other way to get to Talakai? Talakai was the man to get in, right? And then Fafita bloody gets benched. And so then I think, can I just take out Fafita instead? This new feature they've got this year, if you guys haven't used it yet, midway through a round you can actually reverse your changes. So I had taken out Aiken for Talakai. Aiken hadn't played yet, but the fact that Fafita was benchman, I could change my trade so that I would take out Fafita instead for Talakai. Obviously the money has to work, but that's what I ended up doing. I thought at that price tag coming off the bench, he has done well previously off the bench, but it was the Panthers. I was like, I don't know what could happen here, so I took the chance. And I know I said all week to people who don't sell Fafita for Talakai, but I think obviously the situation changed. If I'd known that he was benched coming into this week, I probably would have said, yeah, it's probably okay to sell. So I did sell him for Talakai. That worked out really, really lucky for myself because he scored 25 points and he's looking 4 weeks out with an injury. So really lucky with that one. And what that also let me do was get enough cash to go from Ilias to Cody. And I really wanted Cody, but I didn't want to sacrifice Dillbags just yet, Dylan Brown. So I thought, let me just do Ilias to Cody because Ilias is plodding along. And obviously that worked out really well. There's probably about a 70-point gap there. So yeah, really lucky with those two trades. I didn't trade out Dylan Brown, and he actually did okay this week as well, which I'm happy enough with. But obviously we'll get on to the games, and very frustrating that he's still parked out at left centre there. So I can see a few people's scores here. So yeah, I'm seeing 1216. I think if you scored above 1200, you've had a really good week. And I've seen a few people with 1184, 1153, 1164, 1231 from Ethan. That's a really good score. Amar, 1218, currently ranked 168. I'd say you probably hold steady. Yeah, it's slightly on the lower side of things, I think, the scoring this week. And obviously you guys will have plenty of questions. A few players injured, maybe your early trade thoughts as well. Just before we start getting into the games, obviously you guys know we love to do poems on here. I love to do poems. Whether or not you guys like to hear them, that's a different story. But so I have got a poem for this week. Feels like a while since I've had a poem. I think because the last one was Talakai, when he scored 150 and a half, and I didn't own him. So this is a nice little quick poem for round 8. This is a shout out to round 8. There will be a few notable mentions in there as well. So Fafita was on the bench, thanks to our dear friend Holbrook. I thought, oh my god, what to do? Do I sell or do I give it one more look? In the end, I changed my trades. Fafita out was done. Brought back an Aitken. he went over for a ton. Got in Cody too. He went close with 99, but look, I won't complain. That was just fine. A final shout out to my man Harry G. Try assist left, right and centre. It was a scoring spree. Good job as well if you had Coates and Teddy. Unfortunately, I sold James already, but in the end, round 8 wasn't quite points galore, so I ask all of you, how did you all score? There you go. That's my round 8 poem. Let me know if you guys appreciated that. It's a little bit different. It's not just about one player. I thought, let's do a bit of a round 8 summary. And for my own team, obviously, the Fafita, Cody, Aitken trades. So that's my round 8 poem. And yeah, Holbrook, what is he doing? I haven't read the article yet. I saw a headline which was about, what was the rationale for Holbrook benching Fafita. I don't understand it, man. I don't get it. Yeah, and it was very lucky that I did trade him out as well. Best one yet, Isaac says. Best one yet. Yeah, cheers. I think someone also mentioned, you could have the entire Melbourne Storm spine and you won't be disappointed. I was talking about this with the Whisperer earlier today. What we're thinking about doing next year, just set up a second team, fill it with Storm and Panthers, and that's it. And just leave the team for the season and see how it actually goes. Because, honestly, you're right. Hughes, Munster, Pappenhausen, Grant, Coates, they're just smashing it, all smashing it. Okay, cool. You guys all like the poem. Very good stuff. There's no particular player who stung me this week. I'd say Coates is the biggest one. I was kind of off him in the preseason, and I'm thinking now, I'm like, yeah, it would have been nice to get Coates. And a few weeks back when I bought my centre wing, I got in Lomax. Coates is probably the answer there. But we'll quickly start chatting about some games. Obviously, as we get through each game, we'll keep the stream kind of relaxed as well. Don't have to be super analytical or anything, but if we get to a certain team, obviously post your questions related to that and we can start discussing what we might think about doing to begin, what's going to come up in round 9. So yeah, it's pretty bit of an upset, right? The Sharks not taking the win over the Broncos, who have really been kind of putting it together pretty well. And Tony Staggs pocketed Talakai. All the talk coming into this week was Staggs versus Talakai. Who's going to have the one up? I would say Staggs definitely had the one up here. He's just got this thing, obviously, in the tougher games, he seems to do better. It's insane. That seems like the trend. Very disappointed that I sold him. 82 points, which is a really good performance there. There was a goal kick in there as well because Reynolds did cop that. He copped something to the nose, didn't he? So he was off for about 10 minutes in the first half. But yeah, overall, Broncos looked pretty good. I don't know if there's really any SuperCoach talking points in terms of immediate buys coming out of them, though. Staggs, we'll talk about Staggs, in terms of is he another buy. The draw for the Broncos is not terrible. Also, just let me know if you guys can see the points on my screen. Just okay. I know it's a bit weird with the sizing. I wasn't able to really get it in pretty cleanly. But the Broncos coming up, they've got the Rabbitohs, Manly, and then they've got Newcastle and then the Titans. So it's not a bad little run, I'd say, in all honesty. I think Manly and Rabbitohs definitely can concede points. And so, yeah, if you are looking at Staggs, he has shown enough that he could be one of those guys that you just kind of have to ride through the roller coaster. But look, on his day, we all know it. He's so damaging, and yeah, anyone who's held him throughout the season, I think that's your patience has been rewarded. I obviously wasn't able to get those rewards, but yeah, look, I'll look at Staggs again. Maybe not straight away now that I know that he won't play the round 13 bye week. Maybe he's a bolter for Origin. Who knows? There's been some talk about that in the past as well. So yeah, Staggs killing it. Capel 83. I'm pretty sure he scored a try in there, so that definitely bumped up his score. I'm not sure how sustainable that is. He'll be fine with this. Had a really good beginning of the year as well. Payne Haas, big story I think is Payne Haas. So yeah, only the 48 points here. Obviously had that issue last week with his shoulder. Again, looked like an AC joint injury this week. So the chat that I've seen from Kevy Walters is that they'll try and manage it as best as they can, and if they can, they'll get him out on the field. So in terms of if he's an immediate sell, I think Timbers Tuesday and any late team news is really what we're going to have to go off. Because my thinking is Haas out for just 1 week is also a hold, just because that he is a season keeper. If it's more than 1 week, when it starts getting to 2 weeks, and then you're looking at, he's probably going to go play Origin, that's when I start thinking sell. Especially when you've got, the option to maybe go to a Papali'i. Maybe there's a few options as well. It's similar if you've got Haas and Fafita. If you are looking at your kind of front row forward or second row forward, I'd say you're going to have similar candidates. Papali'i is a big one. I really like Kamole, Olukwatu when he comes back from his suspension. I really like him because he covers round 13 as well. You can look at other guys like a Ruben Cotter who had a really big week. So I think there are a few options that you can consider. in those positions. But yeah, Haas, whether he's a sell or not, it's it's I think if it's just a 1 week kind of prognosis, then I'd say hold. Otherwise, I'd maybe think about selling if it's any longer than that. I know a few people were looking at Corey Pakes this week. What did he score? 21 points, coming off the bench again. Yeah, I mean, if you just did it to facilitate, cash, as a downgrade, it's okay. If you weren't looking to play him, if you're looking to play him, obviously that's a bit of an issue. My man, Selwyn Cobbo, I'm not playing him on any week buying matchups, so I thought, a Sharks game is not the best game for someone like Cobbo. I'm thinking about maybe just moving him on soon as well, because he did have a low break even, so I might just cash in on him soon, because if I'm not going to play in my 17, I mean, I don't have to waste a trade on him, but if I want to create the funds, I could do that as well. And just moving on to the Sharks, I mean, Hines, again, I don't know how he got the extra 10 points in updates, 68 points when he looked pretty poor himself. I guess that shows you the unicorn that he is. Like, he just accumulates points in so many ways. 68 points, barely doing anything. McInnes, a bit of a return to form, starting this week. Finucane was a late out. So I will look at McInnes a little bit more as well. They don't cover round 13, and his break-even was 68, so his value won't change a lot. I guess if he's named again on the bench, though, that kind of means I'm not going to be interested too much. So I think given the the fact that he's been benched most of the season, makes me think I'm not going to jump there straight away. And then Britton Okoro with a decent matchup, output there as well. But yeah, if we scroll down a little bit, the fact that we have to scroll down to Talakai, doesn't that tell you everything? He's not sitting up pretty there at the top with 160. Only the 36 points. He went down like 10 points in updates as well. He went down about 5 points. He was on 41, I believe. I mean, that's just basically his base points, right? Which, look, a floor of 36 is not fantastic. It's fine, but you'd expect with Talakai, he gets those tackle breaks as well. But yeah, there was a clear game plan for him, which was just jam in on him. Don't give him any space, don't give him any headwind. And I think you'll probably see a lot of other teams trying to do that. So it's a bit of an exception maybe with Stags in that he's a very good one-on-one defender. Other teams might have a bit more difficulty handling Talakai. Sharks still do have a decent run coming up as well. I believe they play the Warriors coming up next, so I can see that as a game that Talakai would probably do well. Then you've got the Raiders, who are looking dreadful at the moment. Then the Titans, Roosters, who are not hot crash anything at the moment either. So I think no immediate concerns. If you brought him in this week, it's okay. Look, you're going to get a big cash rise out of him. If he continues to stink it up for the next few rounds, look, you can always cash in. But I think we've seen enough in the last few rounds of what he can do that I wouldn't be panicking with Talakai. And again, if you've got like a Wilton, not Campbell Graham, Wade Graham was back this week as well. So he's probably also looking like a sell. If you have a Mulatalo, I think it's just, again, a bit of a thing with Talakai, just a down week, but he's done really well so far. So I wouldn't be panicking too much on any of your Sharks players. Just, they did look a bit underdone though, like a little bit tired and leggy in this game, which is a weird one. I can see Moz saying Talakai versus the Warriors. Geez, yeah, the right side of the Warriors. Who even plays on that side? I can't remember from the top of my head. They'll be in for a big defensive task there coming up against Talakai. So flick over to the next game. So the Titans and Panthers. I think we've already spoken a bit about Fafita. So coming off the bench, 25 points, just dreadful. And picked up a MCL injury, so he's looking out for about 4 weeks, I believe it is. So he's an obvious sell. We'll definitely talk about it this week, who are the best replacements. He did have a relatively high-ish break-even, I want to say. It was 83. So he will drop in cash, but the benefit is that even if he drops like 30, 40k, he's still selling at 710,000. You're going to get a lot of value out of that. I guess the question is, who do you sell to? So let me know in the chat as well, who has Fafita and who your initial thoughts about who you might sell to, because I do think it's a hard sell. My first thought is probably Papali'i around that price range. He is a season keeper. Maybe you can go a little bit cheaper. I don't mind someone like Kamole or Lukuatu, as I mentioned. If you didn't jump on Talakai, maybe you can still get on Talakai, but I feel like this was a week where his price now is going to skyrocket a lot. So maybe even a Taumalolo is a good shout. I've seen a few people talking about Taumalolo. He, again, got a nice little junker line break in his game as well. So he could be someone, he also covers round 13, maybe Ruben Cotter. I think those are probably my initial thoughts as well as to who you might be selling to. And I mean, both of them with 50. Marzu, good performance with 82 points. I believe did he score a try in this game? He did score a try, but Jesus, what is that? 32 points in tackle breaks. So he had 16 tackle breaks. Unbelievable when you look at that. 2 tackles, 32 points in tackle breaks. Lots of runs as well there. You can see like a lot, a lot of runs there. So yeah, Marzu is a bit of a strange one. He has a decent base as well, but not sure how many people are going to be looking at the Titans when performances-wise they're not been the best the last couple of rounds as well. I can see a few people saying that they sold Fafita for IPAP. So Dan saying you got IPAP 2 rounds ago for Fafita. Best decision ever. Yeah, look, if you did it 2 weeks ago, Fafita hasn't really punished in that time, and IPAP did big, not this week, but last week as well, so that's definitely worked in your favour. Yeah, the Fafita experiment it probably looks like you're not going to get him until, after Origin, by the look of it, because he'll have the injury, he'll come back in, again, maybe he gets reintegrated off the bench, then he's got Origin. So Fafita looks like he's going to be out of our thoughts for quite a while now as well. And I can see Mods is asking in chat how many trades do we all have. 34, 29, 28, 33. Oh, Harris is kidding. I was going to say 34 trades. I'd be very jealous. I'm on 26 now. I used 2 trades this week. I could have boosted for Dylan Brown to Munster. I had the money, but I just thought there's no need to do that, force that boost. I'm just going to hold it for now. And Dylan Brown did okay, so I'm thankful for that. But yeah, I'm on 26 trades. I think this week I'm going to think about selling as well. Look, talking about this game was so weird though. The first half was just so sloppy, wasn't it? Like the Panthers were not on their game. Lots of drop balls. Cleary was on like 8 points in the first half, and I captained Cleary, and I thought, captain failed. This is not going to be a good start to the week, because this was Friday 6 p.m. as well. So it was only the second game of the week. When you have a captain fail early in the week, it just puts a sting on all of your. Even if the rest of your players do okay, just having that captain fail at the beginning of the week is so disheartening. It's always nice having your captain late in the round, so that you've always got that cling of hope. Even if you're doing poorly, you'd be like, oh, I've got my captain coming up. But yeah, let me know who captained Cleary as well. I did tweet out, don't worry, second half he'll get his unicorn junk points, and he just did that. He got a couple of try assists, scored a try himself, which was very nice with the line break. So managed to get up to 88 points. Look, I'm happy enough with that. Had a break even of like 3 points, so he's going to be skyrocketing in price as well. Anyone who's held kick out did a decent score there. But like really, no one scored big from the Panthers. Like apart from kick out and Cleary, no one else scored over 55 points. So Isaiah Yeo, who I held, updates to 53. I'm going to guess all in base stats because the guy's just a tackle bot. So I'm very happy to still hold Isaiah Yeo. I think I'll reconsider maybe round 13 Origin time if I want to sell at that point, in case he maybe gets his minutes managed throughout that Origin period. But for now, I'm happy enough with him. It was just a weird game. The Panthers do have a bit of a tougher run coming up. I think they've got Parramatta, the Storm, and then the Roosters. Look, Storm is the only team I'm really worried about in terms of a Supercoach point of view for my Panthers attacking players. And one thing we should also mention for round 9, it looks like Brian To'o is going to be coming back. So really big eyes on Teamless Tuesday. Who's going to stay in the team? Taylor May or Charlie Staines. Taylor May is a weird one because if hypothetically Taylor May is out and say To'o comes back on the left wing, Charlie Staines stays on the right, it's a big decision. What do you do with him? Because you would think that To'o is going to play Origin. So round 13, you'd expect Taylor May to come in, and he'd probably be a relatively highly owned player for round 13. The problem with that is he's pretty expensive now. He's 532k. He's going to go down only just a little bit. Can you leave that amount of money on your bench until round 13? So that's something to really think about, because it's only round 9. You still have round 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 4 rounds where you could be holding someone for just 1 round. That actually tells me maybe he's more of a sell, which sounds strange because he's done so well for us, but it just could be a point that we just have to cash in. Maybe you can buy him back in round 13. I mean, I've got everything crossed that he stays in the team and Charlie Staines drops out, because we just don't want to have to think about that decision. But yeah, that's my thoughts on, if Taylor May is not named in Teamless Tuesday, what do we do with him? Targo was a bit disappointing, 50 points with a try. I still feel like he's a hold just until round 13, because he will be a very highly owned player in that week. Even though the scores have dipped a little bit, we also have to kind of factor in that he's a rookie, starting very soon in his career, so he's going to have some down games. He is prone to errors. I've noticed that in the last couple of weeks, but we know he smashed it in the beginning parts of the season. So yeah, that's something to consider. I think a few people in the chat have said 4 rounds of holding May, especially with everyone's centre wing lacking depth, That's right. Yeah, if you're lacking depth in your centre wing, you can't really afford to do that. At 530k, you can actually move to a few decent options. Campbell Graham, maybe Lomax if you want. I'm a bit of a biased Lomax owner there. You can go cheap. Maybe you go to a Tass. That's one thing when we get to the next game with the Rabbitohs. If Isaiah Tass is named, maybe you're just doing tailor-made to Tass. You're freeing up like 400k. You could just pocket that money in the bank. You could do big upgrades with that. There's a lot of stuff that you could do. I feel like this week there's going to be a lot of cash flying around. People selling for feeder, maybe paying Haas if he's out. Those are two high-priced guys. Maybe potentially cashing in tailor-made to Tass, maybe a Penasini to Tass. So there's going to be a lot of money freed up, I think, this week, which I don't mind, because then my early thoughts are, I think I've spoken enough about the Panthers game. I mean, there's not really many options. Maybe Stephen Crichton if you were thinking about him. But yeah, overall a bit of a weird game. I do want to talk a bit about the Rabbitohs game though, as well. Just because what I was talking about there, if you are freeing up bulk cash this week, Blake Taff scored 66 this week, but it was a very not fluky, but a very late try at the end of the game. Got him a try, a line break, and the goal kick I think he scored as well. So we're talking about 31 points in one play at the very end of the game. So if you've got 400k, you can just keep that in the bank and then use that just to upgrade Taff to someone of your choosing. Maybe you go back to a gun fullback. Maybe you go to a gun half or 5'8", if you've got the right duels. Because I don't know how long you want to be holding on to Taff for. Or maybe if you've got like an Ilias still, that could be one way to upgrade Ilias to Cody potentially next week as well. So that's some of my early thoughts for this week. It was a convincing win for the Rabbitohs, but they were obviously helped by the fact that they were playing against 12 men for most of the game. I would be keen to see what you guys think as well about that decision to send off Lawton. I don't normally get into these debates because I know it's people who have obviously their different views, and sometimes if you just want to keep arguing, it's hard to get to a good conclusion. It was a bad tackle. Some of the commentary was a bit, they're saying like, oh, it's just momentum. I was like, really? I don't know. It was a pretty bad tackle. I thought it was going to be a sin bin, but they sent him off, and they're obviously trying to just send a strong message. I think we just want consistency at the end of the day. If we're going to keep seeing tackles like that, we just want to keep seeing the same decision. That's ultimately the goal, I think. We don't care if they have a bit of a harsh stance or whatever. As long as they just keep it up, at least we know about it. That's the main thing. But that definitely helped the Rabbitohs. I think they still weren't convincing by any stretch. Cody, I'd say, is a pretty lucky 99 points. Like, I'll be honest, even though I got him this week and I'm very happy he did well. It was a lucky 99 in my eyes, because he passed that ball to AJ, and AJ still did a lot of work to get his try, and Cody got the try assist. His try, he just picked up the ball after a bit of a scurry and just went over for a try as well. Look, I was happy about it. But so a couple of his major attacking stats I felt weren't like very fluid. It wasn't like the fluid Rabbitohs attack that we saw from last year. But look, Cody Walker's going to be a big buy this week. Let me know if you're thinking about getting him in this week. As we talked about, there could be opportunities this week to free cash. Are you going to go Ilias to Cody? Like Ilias to me, he scored 29 points, and I'm pretty sure his break-even was around the same as well. He had a break-even of 29 as well. So he won't change in price. He'll be 307k. Cody with 99 points, he had a break-even of about 30. I'm going to hazard a guess and say he might get up to about 500, 510 potentially, something around that, maybe the 500s, low 500s. So you're looking at 200k needed to upgrade to Cody. I feel like most people this week would be able to get that cash. For feeder to Hamole almost gives you 130k. So depending on how much you've got in the bank, or if you're going down to a Tass with 84 points as well. So yeah, I think there's plenty of opportunities to downgrade. Tass hopefully does get named this week and not Milne. Then he looks like a pretty obvious pickup. With that 84 in his rolling average, he'll have a pretty low break even and should make decent cash. Whether or not you have to go for him, it's depending on how much cash you haven't or have not made already. Like personally, I think my team value is around 12.1 million, which I feel like a bit on the lower side. I know Desi Creek from the playbook said if your team value is around 12.5 mil, he probably thinks you can actually afford to skip out on a couple of cheapies. If you're lower than that, you can still do some downgrades to free up cash as well. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one. I do think that the fact that Tass looks pretty good, Rabbitohs do have a good draw. It means, if he continues playing the left, then you would hope that they still have some opportunities to score points as well. So yeah, I think Tass will be a very popular buy, probably one of the most popular buys coming into this week, I'm going to guess. Yeah, just a few people's thoughts on that tackle. Cameron, yeah, it was fair. Ref had no choice. Time of the game has nothing to do with whether it should be a send-off or not. Yep, I agree with that as well. Someone else was saying, if Cam Murray ends up getting paralysed from that, people are calling for a lifelong ban. That's the thing. Like, you can't judge the decision or the penalty based on the outcome of the player's health. If Cam Murray he got up seemingly looking okay, that doesn't mean that, it's just a sin bin or whatever. It's not a send-off. Versus if he had a serious injury, therefore it's a send-off. You can't be doing that. We had similar things last year. I think, what was it? It was Dylan Brown when he was. I know I love Dylan Brown, but he had that knees tackle. That was it, Hutchinson from the Roosters, and I think nothing happened after that. Obviously, that was a serious injury after the fact they found out, but that could have been an instance where he said, at the time we probably should have done a sin bin or a send-off or whatever it was. But we won't get into that too much. I know it was an ugly tackle. I think Lawton's looking at like 4 weeks suspension is what I've read. So yeah, that'll be a big blow for Manly, but they do get some troops back as well in the likes of Hamoli. Josh Schuster is back. Shout out to David. It was good to see Josh back out there. Had some nice touches, 55 points. He definitely also could be a very potty 5'8" if you want to upgrade. If you want to upgrade Ilias to someone not Cody, maybe you go Schuster. He'll cover round 13. Manly have a decent draw. I think, let's check their draw. Let me double check. Shout out to Cherry Evans as well. He's been doing really sneakily well this season. I don't think he's had a score below 60, but he's just been overshadowed. Yeah, look at that. Look at the consistency. 60, 60, 62, 80, 69, 69, 67, and then 74. Cherry Evans is just plodding along. So yeah, Manly have the Tigers, the Broncos, Parramatta, Melbourne, and then the Warriors, and then the Tigers again. So overall, not a bad run. I mean, the Broncos look an improved team. Parramatta looking a bit shaky. Melbourne. But Warriors in round 13 is a good matchup. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to rush into guys like Schuster, but I think with that draw still being relatively okay, definitely someone to consider. Even Cherry Evans, if you are looking at a halfback upgrade. If I upgraded Taff, the only thing with Cherry Evans is that he won't cover round 13 because of Origin. That's the only downside. But yeah, lots of good options. Cam Murray 83, Campbell Graham 75. That 50-50 call of Lomax versus Campbell Graham. I know majority said Campbell Graham. I just kind of went with my gut, which was Lomax. Hasn't worked out yet. I will say though, Campbell Graham got 20 points of junk at the very end though. He had that offload, line break, try assist for Taff. Without that, he would be on like 55. But anyway, I'm not going to be salty. And Koloamatangi. Shout out to anyone who's got Koloamatangi. He's scoring a lot of tries recently. 71 points with a low break even of 48. He has got those big scores in him. He's got an 86 and 98, 111. He does have these lower scores though. His lowest score this season is 45. And he is expensive now, 641k. I feel like that's a bit too pricey for that kind of volatility, but could be someone who's an option as well. See, if you're trading for feeder out, maybe you go pod with someone like Koloamatangi. Damien Cook, a bit of a slight regression to 60 points, but not awful there. And yeah, Ilias, I think Ilias is fine to sell. Won't cover round 13, and yeah, I would be getting rid of Ilias. That's what I did this week, and I'm happy enough with that move as well. Cameron's saying that Cody will go up to about 515, 520k. Yeah, that sounds about right. Adaptation, you got 1,183. Is that good? Yeah, I would say that's a pretty good score this week. We were discussing earlier that around 1,100 is probably a decent week, probably par. Anything above that is probably good. If you're getting close to 1,200, I think you've had a pretty good week. Yeah, Moz is saying Schuster is potty, but you don't know, you need to see some more from him. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think this is probably the first week this season where I took a bit of an early move on someone. Like Cody he was getting some talk this week, but I feel like this week you're going to see a lot more people bringing him in because he's just had the big score. I feel like this is the first week that I've brought in someone as I've hit their big score for the first time and not like one step behind it as well. So yeah, it was a decent week for myself. A few good scores from Manly. Kula looks locked in now, you'd hope, for that centre wing spot. He looks so good defensively. Harper shouldn't be getting a look in, hopefully, and Kula stays in there as a nice cheapie to cover round 13 as well. All right, next up. So, oops. Wrong game. Oh, can we just take a second to admire who's sitting up the top there? E. Aitken. Ewan Aitken, what a legend. All week I talk about trading this guy out. and I did it. But then Holbrook, the magician, decides to bench Fafita, and Aitken stays, and 101 points. Happy with that. So yeah, very happy with 101 points. He had a try. That was a beautiful pass he threw out as well to the left wing. Didn't know he had that kind of ball playing in him. And then he went over for a try as well. So very happy with that 101 points from Aitken. I'll quickly just chat a couple of questions I saw come in from on the Rabbitohs game. So someone's asking, Ilias or Tuolagi for Schuster? I can't even remember what Tuolagi scored. I would say it depends on the break even. Cameron, whichever one has got a lower break even. I feel like they're both the same. I think Ilias is a little bit more expensive, so I feel like you can just get rid of him. You can get a little bit more value out of it. And I also think, I would say Ilias because he's in a more valuable position. You've only got 2 spots at 5'8". You can't really be kind of sticking around with your cheaper options who are not doing so well. Those are higher upside positions. Second row forward, you've got more slots to play with. So yeah, I would do Ilias to Schuster then, actually, in that case, now having thought about that. QVNT MFLX. Here's a highlight player for you. I thought that Aitken was playing injured, so bench him for Schneider. Oh, that's rough. I mean, Schneider is still doing okay. 43 points when he didn't do much at all. Yeah, apologies if I kind of scaremongered. I was trying to be as transparent as I could. I was seeing some rumors that Aitken had like a calf complaint. So that was the reason why I initially decided to take him out for Yo. And then that was my reasoning. But then obviously the whole Fafita thing happened. And so I thought, you know what, I'll change it up and hope that Aitken plays. So luckily he did play. It was minor, but the talk was mainly around the short turnaround. So I thought that was enough doubt in my head to take him out. So yeah, apologies if anything I posted. I tried to be as transparent as I could about even my own moves as well. Afterwards I said that I was going to do the Fafita move. So hopefully people didn't get kind of thinged into that because of what I said and then thought I was backtracking by not taking him out. That wasn't quite the case. Again, it's all on Holbrook. Yeah, I can see a few people did trade out Aitken. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I was, when he was doing well, I was thinking, ooh, I wasn't like even celebrating. I was like, ooh, that was lucky. I felt really lucky there because I very easily could have sold him for Talakai. Talakai got 36, Aitken 101 points, and he's a round 13 player. And Yo, who was my other option, scored like 53. So yeah, I definitely feel for you guys who did sell him or didn't play Aitken. That really is sucky. But look, I guess that shows kind of what I thought of preseason. He does sometimes have the upside. I think I mentioned the preseason where his base is really good. Warriors had a good draw to begin the year. He just needed like 1 or 2 attacking stats and he'd be looking at like 80 plus scores. So I'm happy enough that some of my chat kind of made sense. But yeah, look, really happy with that. He does look class, a class player as well. Inksen, not your fault. It was an informed decision that blew up in your face. No, it's unlucky. These are the low points of SuperCoach when you trade out a player who just kills it. It's the worst feeling. So yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to talk about out of the Warriors. They do cover round 13, but like the scores are just meh everywhere across the board. It was a pretty meh game in general, although it was exciting at the end, obviously. I know a few people were looking at Jazz Tavanga this week, only 41 points. I mean, Matt Lodge, 53, fine. Fanua Blake, 48. Fanua Blake just seems to be plodding along. He just doesn't, he's not offloading at all. Like, that's the thing, he's just not offloading anymore. So we're not seeing those bigger runs and scores from him, which is a bit discouraging. Valea got a try at 34 points, so I would not be comfortable playing Valea in my team at any point, even if the matchup is good. Just has no base by the look of it as well. And yeah, the Warriors, they're not in the best patch at the moment. They did get the win, obviously, but it wasn't a very convincing win. I did think the Raiders deserved that, but then they just kind of slipped up in the second half, as they have been doing a lot so far this season. And I haven't actually watched yet Ricky's press conference. And let me know anyone in the chat who watched Ricky's press conference. Is Fanua Blake a sell? He covers 13 and my front row is solid without him. Yeah, if your front row is solid without him, I know he does cover round 13, as you say, but he's just, like, this is the thing to think about for a round 13 player. You know, what do you think they'll score in round 13? Fanua Blake might give you 50. Is that extra 50 points in round 13 going to be worth it if you can say instead go to like an IPAP? If IPAP scores 70 for every other round but misses round 13 and Fanua Blake gets 50, you know, IPAP's going to be making up and outscoring Fanua Blake even without that round 13 score. That was what was going through my head with Aiken. I was thinking he's just going to be a mid-range plotter. Obviously, he had the upside this week. But yeah, for Neil Blake, it is a bit of a luxury. But if your front row forward is solid without him, you don't need to even play him. Then I think there are grounds to sell, because if you've got the duels, you can probably move to a decent second row forward as well. So yeah, that would be my thoughts on that one, actually. Cameron, you were tossing up Aiken or Max King. You played Max King, benched Aiken. Oof, that's rough, mate. That's the worst as well. Seeing someone in your own team. James Austin, is Schneider a trade out? Seems to have plateaued, and bring him in for TAS and preparing for Turbo. So yeah, is Turbo actually... Turbo could be due back in the next couple of weeks as well, isn't he? So the fact that Origin is around the corner, I haven't really thought about Turbo. All my money went into Cleary instead. Schneider, 43 points. He does cover round 13. His break even was, let me have a look for you, it was 45. So he's going to hold his value for this week. Probably has plateaued. And I do think the Raiders come into a tougher run of games as well. So if we just have a look at it here. So they've got the Bulldogs, which is actually a good week. So if he's your only way to TAS, then fine. If you need the cash. For this week though, it's the Bulldogs, which it's a fine matchup on paper. He's probably going to still get you like 45 to 50 points that week. Then it does get tougher with the Sharks, Rabbitohs, Parramatta, and then the Roosters. But I still think the Rabbitohs, Eels, and the Roosters all give up points. So he's not a must. He's definitely not a must sell. Like, honestly, I'd rather have Schneider over Taff at the moment. Schneider at least covers round 13 and isn't such a low base player. So yeah, it really depends. Look, I would say if you don't have to sell him, you've got all the other guns without him, then I'd say, yep, fine, keep him. If he's your best place to downgrade for a TAS or upgrade him to like a Hines or a Cleary, then I'd say, yeah, he's probably fine to sell. Yeah, James is saying you think Turbo's supposed to be back this week. There, I've heard that, or like round 10 as well. So yeah, we might have to keep a closer eye on your Manly players, because obviously when Turbo's back, Manly are a different outfit altogether. The only player I wanted to talk about from the Raiders was Adam Elliott. So me and Whisperer was messaging me saying Adam Elliott, and then he was giving me the eye emojis because he was on like a massive score at halftime. 104 points, a lot of it in base. So he did have a try assist and a line break assist and a line break. Even if you took out those attacking stats though, you're taking out 20 points? 30 points, sorry. You're still looking at a score of 74, which is a big score. My only concern is, he's cheap, 313k, but Raiders forwards, I hate Raiders forwards. They're just constantly rotated. You can't pick them. You don't know which one's on the bench at any point. So I'm personally not even, look, I'll give it a look, but realistically, I don't think I'll consider it maybe until round 13. Maybe I'll bring in one of them at that point. I'm seeing a few people say that they got some scores updated. I think if I refresh my browser, I should be able to see it. I'm going to guess it would be the Storm game. Some updates have come in. So I'll do the refresh when I get to that game as well. Yeah, Jack White in 77, but honestly, are you looking at any of the Raiders players if you don't own them already? I know a few people were looking at Tom Starling. But yeah, again, he was benched. Ricky just keeps messing around with his rotations. It just does my head in. So I don't even usually bother with Raiders forwards, and I'm happy enough with that lack of uncertainty about my players, not starting or anything. Yep. Incentia, time to jump on Saab. Let's have a what is Saab's price? Because we know with Turbo, he's a machine. He did score. Did he score a try? He did. 26 points with a try. And he had a break. Okay, so he's going to stay the same. 240k. 240k for Saab. Turbo coming back in. Could be a shout. Oh, I'm seeing some juicy upgrades. Harry Grant. Oh, okay. We'll get to the Storm game. Harry Grant, though. What a legend. He was in the poem. And he deservedly was in the poem now. It looks like he's updated to over 100 points. So, Harry Grant, he just simply enchants. Alright, we'll get to the Bulldogs Roosters game. You play FPL too, right? Yeah, 100%. Ricky is pep roulette, honestly, my goodness. The amount of rotation, yeah. Just don't even guess it. Paps updated massively as well. Okay, Paps. Okay, cool. I was on 1146, so I'm gonna guess the score is gonna be up a little bit, but look, these are highly owned players that you're talking about, Pappenhausen and Grant. So I don't think that changes too much in terms of ranking wise. Actually, you know what? You guys are talking about it. I'm going to break formation. It's going to jump to the Storm game. Okay, let me refresh the browser. Let's see what I get. So, okay, what am I on? Sorry. 1173. There you go. So I've gone up about 30 points. So there must be some big upgrades from the Storm game. So, yep, Grant 103. Pappenhausen 91. Where did he get 91 points from? What a massive 28 points in goals. Got a few extra tackle breaks, I want to say. Got a couple of line break assists. A line break. I might need to go rewatch parts of the game as well. I can't quite remember where he got these upgrades from. But look, I'll take it. That's really annoying though, actually, is because people who captained Pappenhausen, they've just gone and edged it over Cleary. Because Cleary got 88. I know it's 3 points. That's petty. But I wanted to have the captain who scored the most points. But unlucky. But no, it's not unlucky. Harry Grant, what a man. This one specifically for SU Whisperer. You need Harry Grant in your team. He wasn't watching the game, poor soul. I was watching, and then I kept messaging him saying, Harry Grant, what a legend. That's try assist number 1. Oh, he's got a second one. Oh, he's got a third one. Fantastic. Munster's gone down a little bit to 76. Coates, man, oh my god. Coates is just scoring tries for fun. I wish I got Coates a couple of weeks ago. It could still be a buy. This is the thing. They still have decent games. And the Storm are just... So the stat was... If you add in the second half of last week's game against the Warriors, add the first half this week against the Knights, they scored 80 points in 80 minutes. Ridiculous, right? They're just scoring points for fun. They're so good. They're so good. It's like it's a hack, their team. It's literally a hack. Brandon Smith off the bench, Grant, Coates, Munster, Hughes, Pappenhausen, they're all in sync. Oh, Coates, man. Should I get Coates? I could get Coates this week. This is literally a definition of a roller coaster. 87, 15, 18, 123, 118. Probably going to get him next week against the Dragons and we'll score 10. Yeah, he'll be 530k. This is the thing though, that's not even that expensive, 530k. You'll probably get some decent value out of him. You could just ride him up into Origin and then just sell him if you wanted to. So yeah, I would... I'm considering Coates. I know it's a bit of a knee-jerk. That's the point of this whole stream. It's a bit knee-jerky. Michacho, BS Unicorn points for Pap. Yeah, I'm going to have a look at that. I can't quite remember that, where he got those points from. Look, I mean, Pappenhausen's so highly owned. I'm guessing it would be really annoying, though, if you lost a head-to-head because of, Pap's upgrading. But yeah, shout out as well to Clemmer. 74 points. I want to have a quick look at his minutes here. But yeah, he's been doing really well the last couple of weeks. He's pretty cheap. I think he's in the 400Ks. Probably will get up to about 500Ks now that he's got 2 back-to-back good scores. So he played 64 minutes, which is pretty good minutes for a front row forward. Just having a quick look here. So yeah, 35 tackles. He's 507K. And he had a break-even of 24. So he will go up a bit more in price. Could be an option. The last 3 rounds have been pretty good for Clemmer. We're looking at 94, 48, and a 74. Base, almost all in base. Like, I don't think there are any attacking stats in there. Could this be a resurgence? We know that Clemmer has been a former gun in Supercoach. When he's offloading, he's really good. So it could be an option. Chris Randall updated actually quite nicely there as well to 53 points. So anyone who played Randall, you'd happily take that. Played the full 80 minutes. I didn't play Randall this week. He's so hard to pick up in terms of when he's going to score well. And shout out to Josh King. I can see someone in the chat also mentioned. The other guy you sometimes stream with said to sell Josh King. I kept him and he did quite well. Yeah, I've been not totally saying he's a sell. He definitely is someone you could have sold because he almost has peaked in price. But I was watching the game and thinking about it more. Sometimes there are a few players who every year they're cash cows who peak in price, and then we think, all right, it's time to cash in. Then they just kind of stay around, getting you good mid-range scores, never really going down that much in price, and then all of a sudden you just kind of keep them and they turn out to be really good. So when I kind of mentioned that, I think of Oichi Kumanu from last year. I sold him early, and I regretted that because he ended the season really good. Josh King, I'm starting to think is, like, he looks really good on the eye test. Like, he makes a lot of runs, and if the Storm are going to have that much ball, I feel like there's always an opportunity for him to get some attacking stats as well. We saw that he had that ability to get it earlier in the season. He played 63 minutes, so he's playing decent minutes. There's no issue with his minutes, and he's making a lot of runs. He's very busy. He was on like 35 points at halftime, which is great. I think, especially at that position, if you got him in front of forward, like, he's fine. Like, if he's getting you 55, 60 points, there's like, look, I know it's a bit hindsight because IPAP only scored like 60 points this week. I know, like, I was thinking about doing Josh King to IPAP. I would have not had any benefit in terms of points from that trade this week. And yes, I'd say IPAP is probably a good upgrade on Josh King. But I'm looking at Josh King thinking, you could just be my third front row forward end of the year. He's playing in a gun side. He's going to play over Origin. He's playing decent minutes. He's got ability to get attacking stats. I'm thinking I might just keep him. He could be a downgrade, obviously, if you've got nowhere to sell elsewhere. But yeah, I'm thinking King, I could just hold him. He's doing well enough for me as well. So I'd be keen to see what you guys think as well. If you are any Josh King owners out there, what you are thinking of doing. I mean, at any point I could sell him, but like when someone's giving me 60s, 50s, it's fine. You know, I don't really feel a massive need to sell someone like that. And yeah, Clemmer could be a nice pod at front row forward. Doesn't cover around 13, but I feel like front row forward is a low risk area to dabble with pods because it's such a low upside position. You can afford to just get someone who you think will, you know, keep up with the rest of the pack, but's lower owned. Yeah, a few people talking about Drinkwater. We will get to the Cowboys game. I did skip ahead to the Storm game just because a few people were talking about updates, so I wanted to quickly just jump on that as well. Nick Meaney with a big score as well, 107. Olam, I mean, one of his tries, like the Knights defense was so soft. Let me know anyone in the chat who is a Knights fan. I feel sorry for you. The first 2 weeks you looked good, and then the last 2 weeks have just been so poor. Like, that try that Olam scored, like Munster passing the ball, he was just standing there. Like, he ran past like 5 players and scored. I was watching, I was like, what the hell? And like, he's, you know, Knights are playing at home as well. So, yeah, like, it was really, really bad defense. Cameron, you said you made nearly 250k from Josh King to Tass. Yeah, that's the thing. If you're making bulk cash from downgrading Josh King, and that lets you do, you know, your 250k goes like Ilias to Cody, then you start thinking, yeah, okay, those combination moves is probably worthwhile because King, while he's offering okay scores, he's not going to hurt you selling. I'm just seeing him as a good depth option at the moment. So I'm thinking if I can avoid selling him, I might do so if I can, and try to just get rid of more of that deadwood, like your Randall, not necessarily even Randall's doing okay, but like your Iliases, your Taffs eventually. I think those are the kind of guys that you would be looking to take out as well. I don't really think there's too much more to be speaking about from the Storm game. All the usual suspects doing well. I mean, Jerome Hughes, what did he score this week? Only 44. Interesting. I thought he looked very involved. I know someone earlier in the chat, I think, was saying, thanks for making me sell Moses instead of Hughes, because I think Moses had a pretty low week. I mean, Hughes didn't go massive, but Moses did go poor as well. Okay, we'll quickly jump back to the Bulldogs Roosters game. I'm conscious it's already been 15 minutes, so I'll try and go through these a little bit quicker. Roosters are just poor right now as well. It's so clunky in attack. We benefited from some forward passes as well. Like, I'll admit that I'm a Roosters fan. We definitely got away with a couple of tries there. I do think the Bulldogs were definitely deserving of the win. Angus Crichton, 80 points. Is he back? What is he, 510k, break even to 74, so his price is not going to change a lot. This is the thing that you have to decide, you know, is he going to play Origin? Could he be a nice pickup at that bottomed out price? You know, King for Angus, maybe if you're looking to do King for Angus, I don't mind that. It does feel sideways, but we know that Angus is a gun. Okay, my screen's lagging out here, let me refresh that again. There we go. Yeah, I'll be looking at Angus. My only concern is, I guess, that Roosters' draw does toughen up a little bit now. He is a forward, though, so it doesn't matter as much. Probably will play Origin. I'm going to guess he's still going to play Origin off the bench. So, yeah. I mean, what do we got? We've got the Eels coming up. Then it's the Panthers, Sharks, and then Raiders. To be honest, though, for a forward like Crichton, it's only the Panthers game I'd be worried about. I think the others are all manageable. But yeah, so I'll be looking at Angus a lot this week. Yeah, I can see someone in the chat, Hernando, you're doing Arrow to Crichton. That sounds like a good move. What did Arrow even score this week? I don't know if he did that well. What did he? Yeah, 48 points. I feel like he's kind of done his job in terms of getting decent scores, kind of holding down the fort. But yeah, a switch to someone like Angus, yeah, I don't mind that one at all. What to do with Sam Walker? I think you... 9 points. I think you sell. Again, similar to what someone was asking with Ilias. He's going to drop a lot of cash. The games coming up are not the easiest. We know that he's got low base. And it's just the fact that he's in that position of 5'8" halfback where you've got so much higher upside. You've got Munster, Walker, Cleary, Hines. Like, there's so many good options. I know he does cover round 13, but again, it's the points in between that period of time that you kind of have to think about as well. So, yeah, Sam Walker, I saw him a while ago. I haven't looked back on that. He did have a few decent games. But yeah, just the Roosters don't give me a lot of confidence at the moment. So yeah. Someone's asked my question. So you sold King for Angus last week. Happy with the Angus? Sorry, we kind of already discussed the King to Angus trade. I don't think that's a horrible one, in all honesty. James, we're not sure what to do with Manu. Yeah, I mean, only the 27 points here. Manu, I feel okay holding. I know he's a really expensive price, but I think he is one of the best options in round 13. We versus the Raiders, he's probably going to be playing at fullback that week with Tedesco and Origin. And we know that Manu, when he plays at fullback, is a great option. And I feel like I've seen enough this season so far of Manu, like the eye test wise. Like, he got 27 points. If you remember, there was that try that got disallowed where Suwali went into touch. That was off a Manu flick pass. That kind of gives me the signs of he's on it. Like, I think he's been on it so far this year. And if Suwali stays in touch, Manu's then got an offload. He's got a try assist and he's got a line break assist. You're looking at a 24 point there. Then Manu gets up to about 50 points, and then you're probably okay with that, right? He might drop in price, but he's given so many big scores so far. He does have a high break even, that is true. And last week he scored what? Well, he scored pretty well last week, didn't he? 100 points. Yeah, he scored 100 points last week. Like, if you think about that, since round 3, he's had one low score of 27, now 2, but he's given such big scores before that. I still think he's okay to hold. I know he's expensive, but yeah, Manu does still give me some thoughts about holding. I still like what I see. He's still roaming. So yeah, I think Manu, I would try to hold on if I can. I would like that option of him in round 13. And again, it's different to someone like Sam Walker, where at a position like centre wing, you can afford to hold someone like a Manu because you've got extra slots to kind of play around with. When you're looking at those positions like hooker, halfback, 5'8", fullback, where there's only 2 slots, you really have to make sure you get like the best of the best if you can. Someone like Manu, you can kind of fit in there, and you've still got other spots to kind of play around with that. Someone also mentioned about Tupanua. Yeah, Tupanua is like, look, he did well this week, 66. I believe he scored a try. Sam Walker to Drinkwater. I need to give some serious shout outs and thoughts to Drinkwater, because we'll touch on the Cowboys game in just a second. He's killing it. You know what? You say that, I don't mind that. I don't mind that because Drinkwater's absolutely killing it. He racks up the attacking stats as well. Luke Keary, someone asked about. He's not a buy at all in my eyes. He's scored 60 points. He had a try assist or 2, I want to say from memory, 2 try assists, and only the 60 points, 360k. I know people might want to buy him. Again, I feel like he's 360k for a reason. I don't think there's enough that I've seen to make me think about buying him, even if he's that cheap as well. Ahmad, admit that you messed up with Teddy. Yeah, let's talk about Teddy. 94 points. Probably did mess up a little bit in that if I could have sold other players to get to Cleary, I would have. Look, Cleary, I'm happy enough that I've sold. Look, the move of Teddy to Cleary, I'd say was worth it in the sense that last week Cleary scored like 150. Teddy has looked very involved though. Like, he's always going to be involved. Lots of tackle breaks. If you've still got Teddy, perfectly fine hold, I think, all the way through to that Origin period as well. If you sold like myself, maybe a consideration to jump back on, but I feel like it's hard to do that when you've got Origin just around the corner. I mean, messed up, like saying messed up is, look, ideally if I could have kept him, I would. But the signs weren't encouraging. But I guess it is encouraging that even though the Roosters are faltering, he still is scoring decently. You know, he's taking a lot of runs, lots of tackle breaks. I want to say he scored like 20 points in tackle breaks, 18. Scored the try, obviously, as well. The hit-up points are always going to be there. So obviously, if you're a Tedesco owner, you'll be very happy continuing to hold him. But look, I sold him for Cleary, which to me feels okay. But yeah, if you're a Teddy owner, you'd be very happy holding him as well. And I think looking at that draw for the Roosters, it feels like the next entry point to get back into someone like Teddy is like round 18, when they've got like the Dragons, and I think they've got a nicer run after that. Suwali, 45 points, could have had that try for a bigger score, but 45 points without a try is... Sorry, he did score a try, my mistake. But he could have had another try as well. That got disallowed because he went into touch. But yeah, overall, Roosters... Yeah, I think I've kind of given my thoughts on the majority of those Roosters players. In terms of the Bulldogs, very deserving winners. Josh Adokar scored a double very early on, but not really much else. I mean, Tavita Pangai is somewhat of interest. Still 54. He's not quite getting those bigger scores that we were seeing last year. Max King starting lock, 44 points. He's kind of just doing what he tends to do. So Max King, I see one of those guys, perfectly fine hold to round 13. Maybe then we can look at moving him on then. Really, I mean, the Bulldogs do have a nice run of games coming up now until round 13. So if I have a quick look at it here. So you've got the Raiders, the Knights, and then you've got Tigers, Dragons. Then it's the Panthers in round 13. So the round 13 game is a tough one, but up until then, you know, maybe you could, look at getting in someone like the Bulldogs, like a Burton or a TPJ, but they're just struggling to score points again. So it's hard to still think about going with their attacking players. I think you may be looking at the forwards. Okay, let's see a few questions here. Drinkwater has sailed, but damn, he's good at the moment. Yeah, you know what? I think we've kind of touched on the Roosters game. Let's talk about the Cowboys game. I'm seeing some questions about Moses and Drinkwater as well. Okay. Yeah. Do we talk about Drinkwater? 113 points. I'll quickly answer a couple of questions as well. Okay, yeah, so Whisper's been saying that Drinkwater's not in Payton's best 17, so we don't know where he goes for next round for the Hammer. That's the thing. The way that Drinkwater's playing, I can't see how he doesn't play in his 17. So Hammer came off the bench, could be keeping that kind of utility role. Rob says Hiku got benched for the Hammer when he came on. Maybe we see a reshuffle where we were seeing the Hammer play at centre last year. It could be that maybe Hiku drops out, but he's been pretty defensively solid. Like, the Cowboys are overall a pretty solid defensive team so far this year, and Hiku's a pretty good defender himself. So that could be one reason as to, obviously he's part of that. But yeah, he only played the 66 minutes. So yeah, I think we'll just have to wait on Teamless Tuesday. If you see that Drinkwater's still at the number one position, and Hammer is like in centres or on the bench as utility. When did they play this week? I'm just going to have a quick look when they play. If they're early in the round, that obviously helps a lot. No, they're later in the round. They don't play until Saturday, 7:30. So you've got a few games before that. So you would have to make a call on whether to get him before that point. Yeah, it really is depending on Teamless Tuesday. Look, I think he would stay in the 17. I think Hammer either comes off the bench or gets into the centre wing. Speaking of centre wings, I think I've seen this question a couple of times from Jai. Do you think Dylan Brown gets centre wing eligibility? I don't think so. It's not down. The positional changes are not just due to have they played there. It has to be part of, is that player there for like a long-term reason? So instances like Dylan Brown where he's covering a position like because they have no depth, like they've got injuries, for example. That's not really a case where I think the game will look at it and say, we can give him that eligibility, because they see him as a 5'8", but he's playing at centre wing because they have to cover for injuries. Someone like Talakai, the reason that they didn't give it straight away was that they wanted to wait and see Ikuvala comes back, Connor Tracy comes back. If Talakai doesn't move then, when those guys are back who would play at centre wing, then they'd say, yep, Talakai gets the dual flexibility. Dylan Brown is just covering there for 2 games. It could be a case, if it keeps happening, maybe it could change by round 12, but my thoughts are that he won't get the eligibility. That's my understanding of the situation. It kind of has to be, they have to be in that position for like a reason apart from just covering for injuries, or like a mid-game switch. I don't think those kind of things count necessarily. So yeah, definitely want to keep an eye on, but I wouldn't be banking on him keeping that center wing, I wouldn't be banking on him getting the center wing eligibility. Good point actually from Egg. Is round 13 really that hard for the Bulldogs? It will be against a half-strength Penrith. That is a great point. It's a really good point, because Penrith will have a lot of players out. So you might not get as concerned about, that game on paper. So yeah, definitely a good point as well. Roosters 117, you are the GOAT, mate. Thanks for all the free content. XX. Cheers, mate. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Not at all, mate. It's a Sunday evening. I'm talking about SuperCoach. This is all fun times. So Drinkwater, look, he had a low break even, I want to say, as well. 30. He's going to be like almost 600k. Oh, I don't know. I feel like Drinkwater at 600k, if you've got someone like a Cody who's 100k cheaper, you might go there. But yeah, it could be a nice pod. Covers round 13. The Cowboys do have a decent run of games coming up as well. So you've got the Knights, Tigers, Melbourne, Panthers, but then the Titans. So Melbourne and Panthers is tough, but 3 of those next 5 are pretty good. Yeah. We'll see some Drinkwater chat, I think. I don't know if I want to go there just now. Peyton driving you crazy with Lukey's minutes. Matt, this is why I didn't want to go with Lukey. Like, honestly, does anyone else get super frustrated with this constant game day switching? Like, no one thinks, like I was ranting to the Whisper about this. Does Peyton think he's like a tactical genius or something? You do this every week. Tamala to prop, Cotter to lock, Lukey to the bench. Like, why does it matter? Like, just if you do it every week, just name it that way. It's who's with me. Someone put your hands up. Maybe that's me being silly, but honestly, like, it does my head in. Just name it if they're gonna be out in that way, and just like, is no one surprised, right? If we can figure it out, what do you think the opposition coaches who's reading about you all week is gonna think as well? Oh, Lukey's starting. We would have planned for him. Oh no, he's off the bench. Oh. I don't know, man. I don't get it. But look, I'm not an NRL coach. Peyton is, and he's doing really well with the Cowboys. So look, I'm going to leave it at that. Dan, need help. Currently sitting ranked 64th. Wow, congratulations. Massive. Most of my team is either in Origin or not playing in round 13. Do I get rid of some guns to prepare for round 13, or what do you think? Look, if those are guns who are performing well, then no. Because if they're performing well, they're going to continue to score points for you. And that's ultimately that's the aim of the game, right? To score the points. It's something I would think about if, for example, you haven't used a couple of boosts. Maybe you've got some boosts left. In round 13 and round 17, your boost lets you do 3 trades. In that week, though, you can do 4 trades with a boost. So you might just want to maybe just think, write it out until round 13. And in that week, you can bring in maybe like 3 round 13 players, and that can kind of help cover you off. But yeah, think about if they're Origin players that you want to keep for the rest of the season, someone like Munster, Harry Grant, Pappenhausen, maybe if he's in Origin. These are guys that I wouldn't be trying to cover up in other rounds. If you can avoid it, I'll just keep them because they're just out and out guns. Other guys, like for example, my team, I've got like an Isaiah Yeo. He's an Origin player. He's performing pretty well like a gun. But if he keeps giving me these 50s, then I'll think about kind of moving him on come round 13. So I think you kind of have to make an assessment of which of those Origin players are guys that you really want to keep, which of the guys are you okay to sell. But yeah, that's how I would kind of make a read of the situation. But yeah, again, congrats, you're doing amazingly well in 64th. Yeah, Gazaraki, so in round 13 and round 17, in a normal situation, you can do 3 trades. So every normal week, we can do 2 trades. In those weeks, you can do 3. So if you use a boost in those weeks, you can actually get up to 4 trades in that week. So you have to boost to get to 4 trades, but you have that option to do so, which is why originally in preseason, people were thinking about doing the boosts in those bye weeks so that you could do a kind of a big overhaul of your team to cover those bye weeks as well. But obviously, a few people have used the boosts a little bit earlier in the season, so we might not see that many get activated. But yeah, that's what the situation is on that one. So yeah, I think the Cowboys, Tamalolo 69 points, Cotter 75. Cotter did really well this week as well. Tamalolo definitely, I think I'll be trying to get in Tamalolo. If maybe this week, if Haas is out, maybe I just take out Haas for Tamalolo. He's plodding along very nicely. He did have that junk line break towards the end of the game, but that's what Tamalolo can do. So yeah, covering off some of the Eels players, I think this week I'll try put some more thoughts into Cowboys players as well. The likes of Drinkwater, Cotter, Tamalolo, Hammer. Because Hammer traditionally I haven't liked so much as a Supercoach prospect before because he has a very low base. But if the Cowboys are piling on points and getting those attacking stats, he can definitely get a lot of those as well. So Ethan asks, am I selling Brown this week? So let's talk a little bit about Dylan Brown. He did get 63 points, which was nice. Happy enough with that at centre wing. It was boosted though by a try assist, which I will admit I did think was a little bit, not dubious, but I was surprised that they gave that try assist because he was at dummy half. He didn't pass directly from dummy half. He did a little bit of a shift. I think he kind of did a bit of a wraparound where he was aiming till pass was right, then instead pass back down the short side. So I think because of that movement, I'm going to guess the game decided, or the scorers decided, he created an overlap or created space by doing that movement. Therefore, he gets a try assist. So look, I will admit that's 20 points extra that I didn't think he was going to get. He got, which I'm happy enough with. Now, their draw does toughen up. They do have the Panthers this week. But I was looking at their games, and I don't think that they're the worst. So you've got the Panthers. Then you've got the Roosters. I'm not really afraid of the Roosters right now. Manly, I think they can score points. Raiders, fine. Misses round 13. But then he's got the Bulldogs straight after that. Then it's the Rabbitohs, Roosters again, Tigers, Warriors, Broncos. I'm looking at it thinking, can I just hold Dylan Brown till round 17? He could be a handy option then because they do have the Tigers that week. And the Eels won't lose that many players to Origin. And I'm crossing everything that Dylan Brown gets named in the 6 again because, look, I was tweeting it. It's so frustrating. He has been so good to begin this year. Why move him? I think someone made a great point on my Twitter. Don't weaken one of your main positions to try strengthen another. What would you rather have? Would you rather have a really good 5'8" and a weak centre, or a really good centre and a weak 5'8"? You'd take the 5'8", right? It's in a much more important position. So for me, Dylan Brown, I'm actually thinking of just holding him. I've got Cody in now. I'm happy that I've got Cody and Brown. I could obviously move to Munster, but I feel like for me, in my own team, it doesn't feel like as big of an upgrade that I can do with my team. I feel like Brown, because he has got very good base, he's never going to give me awful scores, and I don't just want to dismiss his really good form beginning of this year. So yeah, I'm thinking of just holding Brown at the moment. Jacob Arthur is so terribly bad. Nathan, thoughts on Gutho? Is he a hold if I've had him this long? Nah, I think Gutho is a sell. Even if you've held him to this point, 27 points at fullback, you can't really be copying that, I think. You probably want to be getting in your guns. And as I mentioned, Panthers this week, I'd probably sell Gutherson if anyone's got Gutherson. I think Moses as well, similar story, 8 points. The thing is that he has obviously been very good this year. He just doesn't have the base that Dillbags has. So he's more likely to give you these junk scores, which is the problem. So I think scoring an 8 when you had a break even of 85, look, he's still going to be a decent price. He'll be high 600s. I think you can move him on though. If you've got the duels, move him to Cody. Maybe take a punt on a Drinkwater via duels as well. I do think that Moses is probably okay to sell. Brown, I don't feel as strongly about. Just because I think, if you're talking about a halfback, the jump from Moses to Hines and Cleary, I think, is quite big. The jump from Brown to Munster is probably quite big, but I feel like it's not as big, if you get what I mean. So yeah, Brown I'm happy enough to keep. Madison came off the bench, had a lot of base points here. 28 points in tackles, lots of runs as well. Yeah, for Eels, it kind of depends on TLT. If Brown is named at centre again, because the problem is it doesn't help defensively. Brown is a great defender, but when he was defending at centre, he's not as good. So it didn't help the Eels there anyway. So you may as well just put him at 5'8", where at least you can score some points. They scored 4 points all game. So yeah, for me, Munster is a hold. Not Munster. Brown. Papali'i, bit disappointing. Tom is asking, is Papali'i a must buy? Definitely not a must buy, but if you are selling Fafita, he probably is the best replacement. I know it was a poor game for them, but Papali'i is that kind of guy that you can just keep for the rest of the season. He is a season keeper. You are going to be paying quite a bit of money for him. I'm thinking maybe just going for Papali'i after round 13, so say in round 14. But it was only a week ago we were thinking Papali'i is a must. He just came off 123. So I do still think that he is a good buy, not a must buy. And on Penasini, scored 54 points, all in base. He was very close to a try as well, which really would have bumped up his score massively. So someone asked, is he a must sell? Definitely not a must sell, because he is one of the centers who's got really good base. So he's not prone to give you really low scores. He had a break-even of 8 coming into this week, so he will make some cash. But look, definitely not a must sell. He is coming up against the Panthers, though. He can be cashed in, maybe like an Isaiah Tass. So I think it's team dependent. No, it really is. Me personally, I'm thinking my center wing depth is not fantastic, so he still might stay in my team, because he's not giving junk scores. But yeah, it really is team dependent. Cameron saying, if you had Brown from the start, got to cash him in. Money making comp as much as points making. That's true. I mean, you're right in a sense, but the thing is, like, Dylan Brown still his point scoring is okay. I'm just thinking with him, I don't think he's my biggest concern or priority in my team this week, and he's done enough so far this year. I don't think again, similar to what I was saying with Josh King, sometimes you just have these guys who have a bit of a dip. They might drop a bit in price, but they've demonstrated enough form that maybe just hold on, and then they can kind of improve a little bit as well. That's my thoughts as well with Dill Bags. He could still be an option, but yeah, someone I can see in the chat, you saw Penasini for Garrick. That's a nice pod move. Yeah, Turbo back. That could mean Garrick's back as well, right? So yeah, how much is Garrick actually? Let's have a quick look. He's got 50 points. He's still 620k. Jeez, he is still expensive. He has lost a lot of money, but he met his break even. He has scored decently well, yeah, 76, and I can't see the other one, around 78 or 80. Not a bad move if you went Penasini to Garrick. How long is pass? I'm guessing that's Haas. No confirmed reports just yet. Thinking maybe it could just be a week, but I think we just have to wait on news for that one. That's what I'm saying. I feel like Haas could be the biggest sell in my team potentially. That's probably enough on that game. I'm conscious we've gone for an hour 14. We'll quickly finish up on the Dragons Tigers. I don't know how much SuperCoach relevance would be in here. Zach Lomax, only 39 points. Bit of a bummer. I was hoping for bigger things in this Tigers matchup. Not the best move bringing him in a couple of weeks ago, but look, I'll be holding him. I brought him in for a reason. This is his lowest score of the year. So look, 39 is his lowest score of the year. It's fine. I'll cop it. Luke Brooks has been sneaky good the last 3 weeks. He scored 66, 80, and 99 points. I'm just going to leave it at that if you're thinking about Luke Brooks. Jackson Hastings, 70 points as well. Really good performance from him. Nofaluma, really encouraging performance as well. 63 points without any attacking stats. That's all base power, basically. He had base points, offloads. I mean, James Tarmer, 72. He has actually done really well. I believe he had some attacking stats in this game, didn't he? He had a line break. That's right. But that was his only major attacking stat. He would have scored 62 points without that. I don't know. It feels... I don't know. Tom has asked, is Tarmel a pod? He did score well, actually, a couple of weeks back. He scored a... 70, 60, 61, and then a 72. It's not bad. He's not doing too bad, is he? Maybe he's the pod. Again, that's kind of what we said. Front row forward is one of the spots where you can probably afford to take a pod because the upside's less so. Yeah, I don't mind it. How did Hastings score 70? I believe he had a couple of forced dropouts. He had a try assist in there as well. No, he didn't have any forced dropouts. My mistake. I thought he would have. But yeah, he had a try assist, a couple of line break assists in there. he runs the ball a lot, Hastings. I think they said on the commentary last week he ran for 140 meters. So he does take a lot of he does take a lot of runs. So he gets a lot of hit up points. Ethan should have went Campbell Graham. Yeah, I think probably should have gone for Campbell Graham. I think I got a bit blindsided for my love for Lomax, but again, lesson learned. Try to be a bit more objective about it. But yeah, I went with Lomax. At least it was my gut call. So hopefully he comes and bangs out a big score soon enough. You went Ilias to Hastings this week. Yeah, I think that's a good upgrade. We talked about it a couple of weeks back. I think Hastings is looking good. The Tigers have definitely had an uptick in form as well. It's been Noffo season for 3 weeks again. Yeah, look, I got burnt by Noffo last year. I bought him in around this time last year actually as well, thinking they had a good draw. It was time to get back on him. I think Hastings being in the team has really helped Nofaluma. It's helped the whole team. My concern was without Dewey, Nofaluma wasn't going to have as many of those kind of tries efforts. But 63 points just in base power. We know Nofo is a gun. He's got the pedigree. If they covered round 13, that would have been ideal. We could have gone straight for him. I don't think I shouldn't dismiss him. That's for sure. Could be a nice pod. The Maxi Evos, I love you, Aman, from Maxi. Maxi, I love you too. Definitely go check out. I believe you guys also did a pre-lockout pod as well just earlier this evening, so I'll definitely check out the replay of that. Very keen to see what you guys thought this week, and hopefully you all had good weeks as well over at the Experience. What is par this week? I think we kind of discussed it earlier. Probably around 1100 I'd say is par. If you got higher than that, then probably you're doing pretty well, I think, for this week. Thinking of Jacko Hastings over Cody Walker from Dillbags. Yeah, I would still prefer Cody Walker. I think the draw is better for the Rabbitohs, but if it's a money thing, then maybe Hastings. I would just say I've got more faith in the Rabbitohs scoring more points than the Tigers. It sounds stupid to say that though when the Tigers just beat the Rabbitohs, but yeah, that's my thinking there. Stop jumping on my Aiken pod, mate, Benny. I've been on Aiken all season, mate. I tried to trade him out and then he came back into my team, and yeah, he'll be sticking there till round 13. Very happy with Aiken there. Any thoughts on Nofo being named at the 1 this week? Or maybe. Haven't thought about that much, but I think he's probably best suited still to being on the wing though. Cool. I don't really have any more thoughts, I think, on this game. I mean, there's not really much more, I think, to talk about. I mean, Tuolagi, 36 points. He can't play full 80 minutes. Apart from round 1, I don't think I've ever played him in a game because just, you can't trust him for minutes. He just never seems to be able to play out a full 80. He's going to be a slow burn cash cow, but I feel like there's not really much on that you can move him to at his price point. Cool. So that's a bit of a wrap up of the games. What I might just quickly do, we'll go for another 10 or so minutes, just for an hour and a half. I'll quickly show you my team. It's hard to do when we're still in lockout, so I can't really, do trades and things. And also we don't know the updated prices. So I've only got the 26 trades left. So I think this week I could save depending on injury news. Say, for example, if Tass wasn't named, Haas is named, I might look at my team and I might just think to save it. I've gotten Cody, I've gotten Dillbags. Maybe I trade out Dillbag for Munster, but I'm not 100% sure about that. TLT for me is going to be big this week because Taylor May, we have to keep an eye on that. What happens with him with To'o? What happens with Tass? Does he get named? Because then that might mean I cash in on Penasini, for example. What happens with the likes of who else are we thinking about? Taylor May, Tass. I'm mind blanking. I'm mind blanking on the other player who we're thinking about. Anyway, but yeah, my initial thoughts are to hold trades. I need to start saving trades. So I think as much as I can this week, I'm going to try hold the trades if I can. I haven't looked at captaincy or anything. We'll get into that obviously with the preview for this week. But yeah, maybe it could just be a week to consolidate, hold the trades, but TLT could throw up anything. If Taylor May's out, I might just have to do Taylor May out for like maybe a Tass. Maybe I'll upgrade him via duels. I can bring Targo down, maybe get in a 2RF like a Hamoli or a Kwachu. That could be an option as well. Someone mentioned Josh Maguire. Honestly, Josh Maguire, he comes into consideration for like a couple of rounds every season and then he fades away. That's my read on Maguire. So I think he played 80. I think you're right. I think he did play 80 minutes. I'll quickly check that for you as well. But Maguire, the Moose, I don't think I can go there myself. 80 minutes. He did play 80 minutes. Cool. What is Benny saying? He's giving me some crap. Can't believe you're going to trade him out for round 13 coming up. I know, sacrilege. It goes against everything in the SC Bible. Taking out buy coverage players. Got any trades lined up for this week or holding? Randall to Cook for you this week. I don't mind that. Randall got 53 points though. I'd be keen to see what his break even is, because Randall for me, I'm not playing. So if Randall still has a low break even, I might just hold him again and squeeze out some more cash if I can. So yeah, I think my early thoughts are to hold. But again, Payne Haas, that's the one I was thinking of. Payne Haas, injury news. Taylor May, is he in the team? Isaiah Tass, does he get named? Those are the kind of the three things that could really change my trade thoughts this week. So I can't really, I think about too many more trades at this point in time. But yeah, just to recap how I went this week. I scored 1173. Though still has to be the Dragons game to update, so Lomax hopefully gets a unicorn 20 points. Fingers crossed. I'll take 27 more points from Lomax in unicorn to get to 1200. But yeah, 1173 this week. Feels like a good week. I won my head-to-head in the Podmasters. Shout out to Adrian, Adrius SC Adrianosaurus. I think that's his handle. I believe it is. So he did a great job filling in for Brewer with Josh in the dual position. Managed to squeeze past him this week in the head-to-head. He had a pretty good team on paper though. I was a bit concerned, especially with Munster. But yeah, managed to get through in the end. Ewan Aiken, you beauty. He got me there. And then Harry Grant. What a man. Harry Grant. But yeah, you can see if anyone is still thinking about maybe past scores, these scores have slightly updated now. So they have gone up a little bit. So you're looking at like 1150s, 1130s, 1170s. These are the podcasters. So obviously they're pretty good super coaches themselves. Barnsley had a massive week, 1301. I want to have a quick look at who he had this week. So he had Aiken, he had Crichton. Okay, he's gone back early on Crichton. He had Katoni, he had Walker, Graham, Taff, Tedesco. Yeah, he had a lot of players do well this week. So Barnsley had a really good week, which is good to see. I think he had a low week last week, so I'm glad to see that he did well. But yeah, so I'd say par, looking at it, maybe it's crept up to maybe 1120 ballpark. But I think if you're above 1100 this week, you've probably done okay. I think 1200, you've done just fine. Okay, I think we'll do 5 minutes of questions. If anyone's got extra questions to talk about, and I think we'll end the stream there. How long is Fafita out for? So I think the reports are MCL at least 4 weeks. So if you've got him, immediate sell. Bailey, hey man, I'm going to trade Corus out. Who's the best cheapy hooker? There's not many cheap hookers. There's like Randall's like, what is he, 300 and something K. You're not going to buy Randall. Corey Pake's coming off the bench. I think with hooker, you can maybe go to a Cotter, maybe a Starling if you want to cover round 13 with those two. I feel like though you might just want to upgrade. If you haven't got Grant or Cook, just try to upgrade one to one. Like Grant is just absolutely killing it. I know, I think it was last week before, I said if I was only buying one of Cook or Grant, I'd buy Cook. Maybe that was wrong advice. Maybe Grant was the one all along. But yeah, very happy with Grant. Do I think Charlie Sands will lose his spot instead of Taylor May? Darren, mate, that's impossible for me to say. It's such a... Look, I think everyone hopes Taylor May stays. The thing is, Staines has actually been playing pretty decently. So I can't even say it's a form thing. Staines has been doing fine. So it's so hard to make a call on that one. I'm just going to wait till 4 o'clock on Tuesday. What did I score in draft? I don't actually play draft. I only play classic. So no draft points for me. Talakai duels after round 9. No. So the next set of dual position changes comes in round 12. After round 12. So they do it every 6 rounds. So the first set was round 6. Then it's 12. Then it'll be 18. And that's that. Haas to Clemmer if injured. Yeah, what I'll do after the stream as well, guys, I'll put time codes in for all the games so that if you're watching on replay, you can see when we're talking about specific matches. So we did talk a bit about Clemmer earlier in the stream. So if you want to scroll back to when we were talking about the Knights, definitely do so. Clemmer is looking pretty good though, as a nice pod in front row forward. And Arrow to Crichton, I think that's going to be a pretty popular trade by the look of it. Yeah, getting back Angus for 510k just seems great, to be honest. And even though he will play Origin most likely off the bench, you still have 4 weeks that you can get from him, rounds 9, 10, 11, 12. So still decent opportunity to get points from Crichton. So yeah, don't mind that one. Still got Brodie Smith. I'm going to guess that's Billy Smith. James, who would you downgrade to, Saab or Tass? Probably Tass if he's named. If he's not named though, I don't mind Saab as a downgrade option. If Turbo's back as well, Turbo Saab is back in action. Best cheapy cash cow centre wings. So we didn't really talk about him, but we have also maybe got to think about Tui Pelotu from Manly. I think it kind of depends on team lists. Isaiah Tass from the Rabbitohs, if he's named, is definitely going to be one of the most popular bought players, not even just in centre wing. So he's definitely one to think about. Other cheapies, none stand out at the moment. Maybe Valea if you haven't got him yet, but I don't think he's a must buy. He's got pretty low base. Yeah, I would probably say it would be the Isaiah Tass, maybe Tuipil or two. Okay, what else have we got? Should you sell Payne Haas, Trey? Mate, I think it really depends on what extra news we get. So I think I wouldn't be thinking about that too much. My general thoughts are, if he's only out for 1 week, hold. More than that, I think I'd be comfortable selling. Let's have a look. We've got some spam in here. Report. Fun times, guys. 1 second. Move. Okay. Ethan, thanks for the stream. Aman, have a good night. Yep, you too, mate. Let's see. Sorry, guys, I was just dealing with some spam in the chat. What does the green at the bottom of your profile should mean? Rookie question. The green at the bottom of my profile. So I'm just trying to see what you're referring to. The green at the bottom of my profile. Sorry, mate, I'm not 100% sure what you're referring to. Roosters, you want to sell one day? I'm not going to finish reading that out. You can do that off the stream, mate. After this is all age friendly. We're doing the stream. What you do with Coruscant? What did Coruscant even score? I don't think it was very good, was it? I'd be trying to sell Coruscant. I was never too keen on Coruscant. 26 points. Sell him. He'll cover around 13, but nah, sell him. Try get Starling, maybe a Grant or a Cook if you can stretch up there as well. What do I think of Adam Elliott? Yeah, we spoke about Adam Elliott. Yeah, if he keeps getting a starting gig, I don't mind it. The problem is just Ricky's forward rotation. I can't stand it. It means I'm active on SuperCoach. Oh, okay, there you go. Couple more questions, guys. Let's have a quick scroll. Do we know why Josh Jackson's playing 80 all of a sudden? Do they have any injuries in the forwards? I can't quite remember with the Bulldogs, but Josh Jackson has played a lot of big minutes in his past, so it's nothing new for him. They might have just thought, let's just get you out there, play 80 minutes, just lock in the middle, because he was actually posting some big scores. So he's also someone to think about if you are looking at round 13 coverage as well. Alright guys, I think we're going to end the stream there. We're going on for an hour and a half. I don't know how my streams go for so long. I just tend to ramble. But yeah, hopefully you guys found some use out of that. Oh, here we go. This is back. Jason Avalon is in the chat. Mate, Jason, quick shout out to you as well. If anyone, obviously most people I'm guessing wouldn't be familiar with Jason. So he was 14th last year. 12th. He was something ridiculous ranking wise, and the year before he was top 10. So he had like back-to-back ridiculous finishes. So James, nice to see you in the chat as well. Mate, I don't know how these spammers have got to me. I need to talk to the higher ups at YouTube. How the hell do I fix this? Maybe I can get moderators. Anyone wants to be a moderator, let me know. And if there's more junk, you can help clean it up later. Yeah, I tried to block them. Look, this is the first time this has happened, so I've already put them on. I've already reported them, so we'll see. All right, mate. The best way to not have them come in the stream is to end the stream. So I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Thanks so much again for tuning in. content will be back again this week. As always, keep posting your questions on the socials. It gives me a good idea of what kind of topics to be talking about this week. Hopefully you guys all had good weeks. Hopefully we'll get some green arrows with a 1-1-7-3 score. Everyone have a good Sunday night. We'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.